Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. Today Google released Android 15 Beta 2 that I have on my Pixel 8 Pro. Let me tell you that we finally have something exciting to talk about in Android 15. So without further ado, let's jump in. Let's start with the build number as usual. It's AP31.240.426.022. And now let's take a look at the new features, starting with the lock screen. There is only one minor change on the lock screen. On the right, I have the newer version, and when I go to the unlock keypad, you will see the text at the top is different. It says enter PIN instead of enter your PIN, and the font is bigger. Now let's move on to something more exciting and talk about the home screen and the app drawer. The first change, when you try to pick a widget from the app shortcut and then tap on the widget, you will see this new add button that will allow you to add it immediately to your home screen without the need to drag and drop like before. And the same applies to the widget picker itself. When you tap on any widget, it will give you the same add button and it would automatically pick the space for you based on the widget size. You will also notice that the top section of the widgets picker is now different and we have pagination dots. I have 3 pages that I can scroll through. Each page has its own name. The first one is called Essentials. I can see a couple of suggestions here. Then I have Suggested for You and finally Social. I'm not sure if these pages change over time when the device learns about your behaviors or they remain the same, so I will keep you updated on this one, but at least the suggestions section is now slightly more useful with Beta 2. Moving to the app drawer, and now when you tap and hold on any of the suggested apps at the top, you will see this brand new option called Do Not Suggest App. Previously, to do the same action, you need to drag the app to your home screen and then drop it over the Do Not Suggest App drop target. But now you can achieve this directly from the app shortcuts menu. And when you take the icon to your home screen, you will no longer see the same drop target. Not only this, but sometimes you will see 3 different options in the strip at the top in case the options are minimized instead of only 2 like before. And the last change I'm going to talk about in this chapter is the ability to create and save app pairs. As an example, I will start a split screen view between 2 apps and then go again to the recent apps. And when I tap on the app icons, you will see this new option called Save App Pair. Tapping on it will add a square shortcut to your home screen with the 2 app icons on top of each other. Tapping on this shortcut will immediately open those 2 apps with the ability to remove it later, same as any app icon like this. Also keep in mind that the home screen shortcut represents the app order in the split screen view. So for example, when I swap them like this and then re-add my shortcut, you will see here that Google Play Store at the top, Google Photos at the bottom, and that matches the split screen view. Now let's talk about the completely revamped volume controls of Android 15 Beta 2. Starting with the volume slider, it's now much taller, which will give you more precision. Not only this, but when you move your finger over the slider, it will give you a really nice haptic feedback that becomes stronger the more you increase the volume. And also when you push it all the way up or down, it will give you a haptic feedback as if you are hitting something, which feels very realistic. The sound and vibration panel also got a complete revamp. First, we have these much thicker sliders that animate nicely when you drag your finger over them. You have a small dot at the end of each one to match the Material 3 design language. And when you tap on any of these icons, you can mute or unmute the sound immediately, and it will return back to the same exact level when you unmute it, which is a nice touch. You can expand and collapse the panel using this arrow and also activate or deactivate the live caption. You can also access the media output switcher by tapping on this button at the top. But keep in mind that when you use these sliders, you don't get any haptic feedback, unlike the volume slider that you access from the volume rockers. Next, the Wallpaper and Style app. Now when you go to the home screen tab and scroll down, you will see a new menu called Color Contrast. From here, you can choose between default, medium, and high, with a quick preview on how the menus and buttons will look like on each setting. On top of this, you have the ability to maximize the text contrast, which will add a white background behind the text. Keep in mind that those 2 features are not new, but they were buried under the developer options, but now you can get access to them from the Wallpaper and Style app. Now let's go through the changes under settings, and the most exciting one is the ability to create a private space to hide your apps and info, and this is one of the most requested features. To achieve this, you can go to settings and then security and privacy, scroll down until you find private space. When you tap on it, it will ask you for a biometric authentication and then take you to the wizard. So let's go through the instructions together. It says here, hide or lock private apps in a separate space, use a dedicated Google account for extra security, and then a lot of other instructions on how the feature works, but I will move to the next step and we will understand as we move along. The first step will ask you to create a Google account to help keep your data private, but this is something optional that you can skip using this button. But the point here, if you decided to use the same Google account you use normally, all the activities you do inside the private space might get synchronized with the same Google account, and when you get out of the private space, you might see all your activities showing up in the normal space. But if you want to keep both completely isolated, it's better to create a separate Google account for the private space. I also finished all the steps behind the camera, and if you decided to skip creating a new Google account, thankfully the phone will not automatically sign in to your current Google account. However, it will use your device's local data, and later you can sign in with any other Google account if you want. So let's tap on skip and move to the next one. This page recommends to create a new lock for the private space separate from the one you are currently using, which makes sense. Just in case your current PIN code got exposed, you still have an extra layer of security for the private space. But this is something optional, and you still can use your current lock screen if you want. But let's tap on choose new lock. It will first ask you to put the same PIN code you are currently using and hit next, and then choose one of these options to lock your private space. I'm gonna go for a PIN code and put something fairly easy to remember and confirm. Then I can also add my fingerprint for the private space, which I'm gonna do it later. And here we go, we are all set, and now we have the new private space. To access your private space, head over to the app drawer, scroll all the way down, and you will see a new section called private. To unlock it, you need to tap on the padlock and then put the PIN code, the pattern, or the fingerprint, and it will automatically expand the list of apps. You will see here that the feature automatically installed the essential apps like the camera, Chrome, contacts, and so on. And I'm not signed in to any Google account. However, it uses the local storage. And if I want to add more apps, I can tap on the plus button, which will take me to the Google Play Store. But in this case, I have to sign in to be able to add more apps to the list. But let's go through the private space settings because there are some important things you need to know about. After you finish the setup, the settings page is now different, and here you have the ability to change your PIN code, set up face and fingerprint unlock, or use your current device lock screen. You can also set your private space to lock automatically every time you lock the device after 5 minutes, or only after the device restarts, which is the default option. So if you take a look here, I unlocked my private space. When I lock my device and go back again to the app drawer, it's still unlocked. So for security, it's better to lock it automatically every time you lock the device or after 5 minutes of inactivity. Then we have the option to hide the private space when locked. This option will completely hide the private space even from the app drawer. And if you decided to do this, it will only appear in the search. So for example, when I go to the private space, lock it, and then go back to my app drawer, as you see, I don't have the private space anymore. And for me to access it, I have to type it in the search, and then it will ask me for the PIN code and give me access to it back again. Last but not least, you have the ability to delete your private space from here and start over again if you want. So that's it when it comes to the private space, and now let's continue with the settings. When you go to network and the internet and then tap on the gear icon next to the mobile network, now you will see some changes. The first one is the network name, the phone number, and IMEI number. And when you compare this to the current version, I don't have any of these under the same page. Not only this, but when you go to SIMs, on both versions. You will see here that I have my phone number showing here as well, plus the mobile data toggle is located under SIMs instead of being under the network settings like before. Next, under connected devices and then connection preferences and then Bluetooth, now we have a new toggle called automatically turn on again tomorrow. So for example, if you turned off your Bluetooth, the phone will automatically switch on the feature the next day, and you can access the same toggle from the quick settings tile, but you have to turn off the Bluetooth to be able to see it. Next, the storage. And with Beta 2, now you can access the Files app by tapping on the free up space banner. But when you compare this to Beta 1, the functionality was broken for some reason, but now it's back to normal. And when you take a look at the categories, you will see some differences. Now the documents and the other are two separate categories instead of only one like before. And Google created a separate section for the system. And now we have the Android version and the temporary system files, while here you only get system and the icons are also different. Under sound and vibration and then vibration and haptics, the adaptive vibration feature got two major tweaks. The first change is visual, and now the feature has its own page that explains how it works instead of only a toggle like in Beta 1. And when you read the description, you will see another major difference in how the feature works with Beta 2. So for example, in Beta 1, it reduces the vibration strength while your phone is still and the screen is facing up. But when you read the description of Beta 2, your phone's microphone and the other sensors are used to determine sound levels and context. No data is ever recorded. And when you take a look at the tutorial, you will see that the feature is now able to increase or decrease the vibration strength based on the situation. So for example, if you have it on a flat surface, the vibration strength will decrease, but if you have it on the sofa, the vibration will increase to make it more noticeable, which is smarter than the previous implementation that only decreases the vibration strength if your phone is on a flat surface with the screen facing up. Next, under display and then display size and text, the high contrast text toggle is now called maximize text contrast. Not only this, but when you turn on the switch, you will see that the difference in Beta 1 is barely noticeable, but now with Beta 2, you will get this white background behind the text, and this is the exact same option I showed you under the Wallpaper and the Style app. Moving to security and the privacy, and here you will see a lot of housekeeping took place with Beta 2. Starting with the privacy controls, they are now accessible from the front page, but previously it was under privacy and there is a section called controls. The second change is the privacy dashboard is also accessible from the front page, which was under privacy with Beta 1. Change number 3 is the private space, which I already talked about, and all other options are located under more security and the privacy, but you will see a small naming change here. The cellular network activity is now called mobile network activity. And lastly, when you go to system and then reset, you will see a new option called delete private space, which is the exact same thing you can find under the private space settings. So that's it when it comes to the new features, and now let's talk about the bug fixes. After installing Beta 2, I noticed two fixes. The first one is the duplicate titles that used to appear when you access the settings either from the quick settings or the widgets, but this is no longer happening with Beta 2. And the second fix is related to the long screenshots. Previously in Beta 1, when I used to take a long screenshot like this, the two buttons at the top used to overlap with the status bar, which is no longer the case. For the full list of fixes, you will find the link in the description below, and now let's talk about the performance. On my Pixel 8 Pro, the performance is very snappy and it's much better than Beta 1, especially in the scrolling and animations, and I didn't face any major bugs while filming this video. I've been using Android 15 on my daily driver for a long time, and since Beta 1 things started to be okay with minor bugs here and there, and Beta 2 is even better, but keep in mind that's only my experience with the Pixel 8 Pro, so your experience may vary. So that's pretty much it for today. Those are all the new features in Android 15 Beta 2. Please let me know in the comments if I missed anything. But for now, thanks so much for watching and see you in the next video.